Dala! So I wanted to talk about discipline. Discipline is such a huge chunk and a huge element of any spiritual development, any spiritual path. It's something that you're going to come across. I think I've spoken about this before, but this time I'm speaking about it from a different angle just because of recent conversation and discussions and my observation of certain things that I wanted to share with the audience here on YouTube. So in terms of discipline, I think discipline has to be the basis and the foundation to your spiritual path, in the sense that you should be able to work towards certain goals without being distracted when it's important. Your actions shouldn't be something that are going to be destructive for your own self. You should be able to have the time to look at the different habits you may have and address the habits that are negative, the habits that are not serving you, the habits that are hindering your purpose or your path, so that you can proceed and advance. Now, discipline may not be for everyone. Some people say, they don't need discipline. Some people like to kind of go mingle around and do different things because we're not here for the same reasons. So don't, if discipline is not something you need, then, look at this video for entertainment purposes only. I don't know, maybe you will find something along the way, but this message is put out there because I know some people do need to hear this and will find this message. So discipline is really at the foundation of building your character, at the foundation of building sometimes relationship, friendships. Without discipline, sometimes you may end up doing things that are going to be negative or have negative consequences towards yourself. For example, it's easier to talk about people who are not disciplined financially, sexually, even within their friendship, their work, or so forth and so on. All of that ends badly most of the time, and really badly for the rest of them. If you are unable to be disciplined sexually, then you may hurt a lot of people along the way, or you may find a group where you can do and go and do whatever you want. And even in those groups, sometimes you can find people who will be tired and things of that nature. So I can't really think of a situation or area where discipline cannot be used as a tool to be beneficial. And this is what it is about. Discipline is a tool. It is not something that is being imposed on you. It is not something that you're required to do. It is something that you assess and you use when you need it. If you have habits that you want to change, depending on how long you had those habits, you may need a lot of discipline to be able to break through and do something new. If you want to do also, I'm going to take a little bit extreme, because I've noticed in some of these discussions about relationships or about African spirituality, people saying that, saying certain things but doing the opposite, or doing something that has nothing to do with it, that is not in alignment. And a lot of that I attribute it to a lack of discipline. So for example, somebody who is claiming to be a practitioner, doing this and that, but they are violent toward the spouse, violent toward their girlfriend or their boyfriend. They cannot handle words that are said to them. It drives them crazy, and they had to resort to violence, to physical violence toward the person who said those words. So there are many layers into this kind of behavior, and I'm taking this behavior because it's most extreme and it's most sometimes you have to take the extremes because they are the easiest examples to see what's wrong, to see how to correct. It's a little bit harder when it's nuanced. So in this aspect where you have somebody who's just like, based on what someone else tells them, they can react so violently that they will result to violence and force, physical force to hurt someone else. It has a lot of different layers in terms of being psychologically weak. A lot of time it is related to low self-esteem, to the point where you cannot answer what someone else has told you with words, so you have to resort to violence because maybe you may overpower them because you're bigger than them, or maybe because you feel so powerless with your word, you have to resort to physical violence to engage them in that manner, to try to see if you can overpower them in that manner, because essentially you feel overpowered, you feel powerless. So there's, especially when it is a man hitting a woman, it's not a good look. It's not a good look no matter what, and that is not a spiritual thing, okay? Because I've seen this going around, and that has nothing to do with spirituality. On the contrary, it shows how weak you are because you are unable to transmute the negativity that was brought towards you in someone else's words. Okay, so if you were that spiritually advanced, you will be able to take whatever words that were sent to you, transmute that, and put it back in something that's going to be benefiting you. And hitting that person is certainly not going to benefit you. You may feel good instantly at that moment. I don't know. I don't care. But you may end up in jail. You may end up, even worse than that. So ultimately, it's not something that's going to benefit you. The other thing is like the more you do that towards whether it is your loved one or anything like that, and the more you're building up this type of character where people are going to perceive you with that negativity. The negativity you're sending out, punching people or talking loud and pushing them and bothering them around or hitting them when you don't like what they're saying, that negativity is going to come back to you. I mean, the people around you are not going to respect you. They're probably going to fear you, or if they're benefiting from you in financially in some kind of way, they're not going to say anything, even though they are really looking down on you. And they're probably not going to help you if you ever got into really serious trouble. So you really have to think about all that negativity and take upon yourself to know your triggers so you can address them. And discipline is a tool for you to do that. Because if you've been having that kind of behavior for a long time, it's going to be hard for you to break out of that. So if you are a woman and your man is having this type of behavior, or if you are a man and your girlfriend or your wife has that kind of tendency to be violent when she hears certain things or when she's mad, then don't expect her from the next day to do something else just because you had this conversation with her or because she's realizing certain things. It will take some discipline to break out of those negative habits, because those become habits. When you hit somebody, you hear something bad and you hit them once, it can be seen as an isolated incident. But if it's recurring, or it gets you or something specific gets you to that point, it becomes a habit. It becomes even sometimes a reflex. And those are hard things to break down, okay? I had another video saying like that 21 days to break a habit is complete BS unless it's something that you've not been doing for years and years and years, okay? If there's something that you've been doing for 20, 30 years and that nobody was, brave enough to tell you because maybe you're a really big man or a really big woman and nobody wanted to even say that because they were scared of your reaction of you punching them because you just punched one other person, then it's going to be hard breaking that habit. It's going to be hard transforming yourself. But the great and the happy news is that you can do it. That's why you need to use some discipline. And that's why you have to be in discipline mode. You need to get a coach, you need to have a program, and you need to start getting going on that. And if you're working on yourself, you're working on your own self-transformation, it's going to be a door that you will have to go through. Anyone who's doing any form of spiritual growth or work on yourself has to face their demons sooner or later. And if you are somebody who's violent like that, you're going to have to face that. And it's better for you to initiate that, to start thinking about that, to start strategizing, to start really observing yourself, and to start catching yourself when you're doing that, rather than just leaving it to the path to show you when the time comes, because you may be taken off guard. It may have to get a lot worse for you to actually start working on that. That's why I'm mentioning, if you are having violence, you're physically violent towards other people, you may end up in jail. Okay, and I don't think you want to go down all the way that path to be in jail before you realize that you need to do something about that. It's much better to work ahead of that, before that. And also, this is not to shame or to blame other people. This is just for you to realize that as a person who has that anger in you, or that those triggers in you, or that inability to control yourself when you hear certain things or things that you don't like, you can change that. You can actually take that power back, and you can start doing things to move forward, to stop doing that in the future, so that you won't brace and send off that negativity towards other people. And learning at the same time to transmute negative energy. When somebody sends you something that's negative, how to brush it off your shoulders, how to move past that without having to be aggressive, without even having to mind what the person even said to begin with. And there are so many alternative and strategies that you can create for yourself on how to deal with that, depending on where and what the context is. From walking away, from going back to nature, from stepping away and writing that on the letter, from recording yourself, voice recording yourself, from having specific affirmations. It has sometimes even have to be a combination of all of that, depending on how long you've been doing that and how ingrained you've been doing that. But I think the most important is that you realize that this is a problem. You realize that this is not going to lead you on a great bright path, and that it may actually attract even more negativity towards you. Discipline is a tool that is available to all of us. Especially if you've been an athlete, there are times where you're going to push yourself, and things that you hit your mark, that you hit your limit, and only to find out that you can even go further. And I think that's the brighter side in terms of when you decide to actually use discipline, is that you will discover that yes, you can do it. Yes, you can brush off your shoulders. Yes, you can not react. Yes, you can walk away when someone is telling you something that you don't want to hear or that you don't like to hear. And yes, ultimately, as you do that, as you continue to grow, you will even be able to take someone's negativity and turn it into something that's neutral, or turn it even into something that's positive, that's going to serve you. I mean, you remember when you were a child and your mother told you, or your parents told you to go clean your room, and you were just so mad and you didn't see the usefulness of that, and you just like best because you wanted to meet your friends or you wanted to go play, whatever, and cleaning your room or doing some house chore was just such a chore. You wouldn't see anything exciting about it. But then transmutation of that is when you start putting on some music, putting on the radio, and working through that and finding some form of enjoyment in that moment. Even though you may not want to do it again, but in that moment you're able to transmute the negativity that you have in order for it to become even a pleasurable and a fun activity for the moment. And that's the kind of exercise that this discipline can call you to do. I don't see discipline is sometimes looked at as something that's negative. Well, in fact, it is a really positive tool. It's a tool that pushes you to push yourself. It's a tool that pushes you to expect more out of yourself than you will expect that you will even be content with. Discipline pushes you to say, you will reach that goal so long as you continue to keep going and persevere. And so it is a beautiful growth that you can have using that. And ultimately, like I said, once you really get into the discipline of just mastering yourself, so it's that you have to know yourself, know your triggers, know your demons, face them. And of course, number 2 is then once you've done that, you master yourself by knowing who you are, and by being then after that being able to even be an alchemist in transforming the negativity that is being sent out to you. Because when you receive negativity, sending out negativity is not gonna resolve anything at all. Okay, and that's why you have to have your shield, your protection anyways, and that's part of your protection. That's part of your protection, knowing when to walk away from somebody who's really negative. You don't have to engage all the time. You don't have to sit there and take that negativity on you. You have the choice to just move away, to move to somewhere else, to some other place. Of course, when it's time to deal with certain things, you deal with them. But when you don't have to, you have that choice to be like, I don't want to deal with this today. I don't need to engage. I don't need to yell and scream. I can just move along. I can just keep it moving. I can just scroll by when you see a comment you don't like. I can just click off when you're watching a video you don't like whatever is being said. You can just click off. There's no need for you to go on a different rant and all the different things and become negative, become intertwined, become trapped in that trap. So realize the choice that you have and realize your power. The power that you have, the energy and the power to transform, and the will to transform yourself. It's just up to you. You have to want it and want it enough for it to happen. I think today you've seen all of the videos. If you go on YouTube, there are thousands and thousands of videos of people who were like 400, 500 pounds and who just decided like they don't want to be like that anymore. and they went and they do it. There's so many videos on transformation. So if you need motivation, there are motivation over there. There are motivation in terms of food and healthy routine and stuff like that. But there's also motivation about people who were battling depression and decided they're going to face it head on. There's all kind of things that people were having challenges and maybe live with these challenges for years and years and years until they decided to persevere, they decided to make a plan and to go and to not stop until they fulfill the plan. That's discipline. So that's just to give you a little encouragement for you to kind of look at different areas in your life to see where you could use a little bit more discipline or where you can use a little bit more strategy. Sometimes it's not so much discipline, it's just, changing around, moving around the strategy that we need to achieve the goal or the objective that we need. And to have this reflection that, any time and form of spirituality that you're doing, spirituality is the experience that you are living, encountering. It's not something that you read for, some other place or to do a conference or thing like that. Those are things that you read, that you do for yourself to enrich your own experience and your own to enrich your own experience and be able to improve the condition and improve your perception of things to be able to grow. Unless you want to repeat things over and over and over and over and over again. So discipline is just a tool. No need to attach some negativity. No need to sometimes attach some positivity. It is just a tool. You use it for what it is useful for. It may feel negative when you have to do something even though you don't want to. For example, you have to go to the bathroom even though you want to keep watching your show, but you still go and do it, right? So it's just a matter of changing your perspective, and sometimes even like when you are breaking down negative habits, tricking your mind to work with you and not against you. And of course, if you need assistance, consultations, you can contact me, or you can get a coach, get somebody to help you. Get an accountability partner, somebody you respect and value their opinion, and they will push you to make sure that you stay on track. Or they'll be able to, not be there to blame and shame you, but be able to give you that moment of rest when you need to. Because that's okay, sometimes we'll fail, but just that moment of rest, you can rest, and then you can get back on track and keep going. So hopefully this pushes you to just think about it differently, whether it is physically in terms of your health, or whether it is in terms of your practice, or in terms of the product that you want to get done, or anything else in life. I thank you for having been with me, and I will see you certainly in the next video. Bye bye.